was there when we won in '89, and this year we're going back again.
I can still remember when Portsmouth won the Cup in 1939. 53 years is a long time to wait.
I was 6 when Norwich lost the semi-finals. This year it'll be different.
I don't remember much about Sunderland bringing home the Cup in '73, but this time I'll be there.
The FA Cup semi-finals. Liverpool take on Portsmouth, Norwich tackle Sunderland. Live coverage of both matches starts Sunday at 12:45, only on BBC One.
And now on BBC One, Ian McWhirter takes a look at the latest campaign developments on the hustings.
Hello and welcome to On the Hustings, on a night when politics very much took second place to glitz, as the three main party leaders took their multimedia roadshows to the country. If Britain's moving towards presidential politics, then it took a giant step along the way tonight, as media managers erected vast electronic showcases for their leaders' personalities. Neil Kinnock took centre stage in a packed arena in Sheffield. He said, "Comrades, friends, we are on our way to victory." John Major addressed a rally in the round at Shepton Mallet in Somerset. He said, "Beware Mr Ashdown, he's the doorkeeper to a Labour Britain." Paddy Ashdown himself spoke at Cheltenham in Gloucestershire. He said the Liberal Democrats' positive vision was our Britain, our citizens' Britain. And Jim Sillars of the Scottish National Party was on the hustings at East Kilbride near Glasgow. He said the Tory government thought Scotland was a valuable asset to be stripped and milked into the next decade. Politicians and journalists alike have been suffering from a kind of psephological vertigo as the polls have swung wildly from breakthrough to stalemate. But if Labour's momentum has been slowed by the latest opinion polls, which suggest their lead is cut, the party weren't showing it in Sheffield tonight. Labour clearly believe they're on the road to victory, and they displayed their self-confidence by staging an extraordinary event before 10,000 supporters, part victory rally, part showbiz pageant. Stars of stage, screen and pop video were lined up with Labour's cabinet in waiting for an emotional celebration of their party and of their leader, Neil Kinnock. It was a long way from John Major's soapbox.
Comrades, friends, we're on our way to victory. In 9 days' time, Britain will have a Labour government. And one of the main reasons for that is that people know that we will govern as we have campaigned, strongly, positively, and looking to the future. The people support that. It's the reason why our strength is so firm and so consistent. So the Tories and the Liberals can fight among themselves as much as they like, as they've been doing today. We'll just carry on fighting for the British people. That is our mission, that is our purpose. All the claims of classlessness, all the pious protestations, all the promises are empty, glib, soothing, slippery. What my mother used to call soft soap. Soft soap. Well, at least as we watch the Prime Minister going round the country now, we know where the soap has come from. But what's at issue in this election is not the soapboxes that the Prime Minister stands on. It's the cardboard boxes that people have to live in. That's at issue in this election. What's at issue in this election is not the claims of classlessness made from the steps of 10 Downing Street. What's at issue is the realities of homelessness on too many other streets in Britain. So what have the Tories got to say about that? What have they got to say about the fact that for the first time in modern British history, thousands are without roofs over their heads, night after night, in all seasons and weathers, the year round? Well, it will come as something of a surprise to you that these conditions are apparently the fault of socialism. Mr. Major said yesterday, nothing makes me angrier about socialism than the way it stops so many families getting a better home. He said that. Socialism stopping families getting a better home. What is the man talking about? It's the policies of this government that have caused fewer homes in the public and private sector to be built than at any time since the First World War. The First World War. We've got to get out of this recession. Everybody knows it, and I pose simple questions to everyone with a vote in this election. Do we get out of recession with the same policies that got us into recession? Do we get out of recession with the same philosophy that got us into recession? Do we get out of recession with the same people, the same government that got us into recession? No, no, no. We do not make the escape with the people who dug the hole. Is it possible that more deregulation, more privatization, greater concentration of wealth, greater spread of poverty, further underfunding of housing and of health and of education can get us out of the mire of recession, of rundown, division, economic relegation? Of course, it isn't possible. There has to be a different way, and there is a different way. Signposts are clear. You can see them in our successful competitor countries. They point to innovation. They point to investment. And we in this Labour Party and in the Labour government are following and will be following those signposts. We are learning from success. We understand, as those competitors do, that it is proper, indeed it is essential, that in a modern economy, modern democratic government supports research, improves the transport system, fosters long-term industrial development, makes a continual commitment to the advance of skills. And we put that understanding into action. We'll put those policies to work to take Britain out of recession and to keep Britain out of recession. Tories never will. 13 years pulling Britain down, 13 years pulling Britain apart. It can't go on. Now is the time for our country to start pulling together. Pulling together for the sake of the pensioners. Pulling together to give the youngsters a chance. Pulling together against the waste and the cost of unemployment. Now is the time to make our country safer, cleaner, more secure. Now is the time to make our country stronger and more successful. Now is the time for Britain to pull together. Now is the time for change. Now is the time for Labour.
Neil Kinnock in a rally that bore about as much resemblance to a traditional hustings meeting as Live Aid. But the Conservatives aren't afraid of putting a little media into their message as well, and they have their own teams of showbiz producers. John Major left his soapbox behind tonight as he reappeared in the £500,000 theatre in the Round, dreamed up by West End theatrical designers to reveal him as man of the people. Now, the Conservatives have taken comfort tonight from the latest opinion polls, showing them again neck and neck with Labour. They've also listened to the advice of the pollsters that the Tories are losing support to the Liberal Democrats, and so they decided to take the centre head on. A Liberal vote, John Major told the Tory faithful tonight, is not a vote for nice Mr Paddy Ashdown, but a vote for big bad Neil Kinnock.
Well, I hope you like our set. We didn't have time to knock up a soapbox. On Friday of next week, the work of the next government will begin. It will be a Conservative government. Only one alternative. That alternative would be a Labour government, no other choice. If you vote Conservative, you will get a Conservative government. If you vote Labour, you'll get a Labour government. And if you vote Liberal, you'll get a Labour government as well. And that is a message every elector must understand. And I warn you, look beneath the surface of Labour's policies. You'll see the cold, hard truth staring straight back at you. They haven't changed. They haven't changed. They have not changed. Let no one think for a moment that socialism has lost its ambition to change people's lives. They still want people to pay up for the privilege of being told what to do. That is the very badge of socialism. Don't let the Liberal Party be a Trojan horse to a Labour Britain. Let that cry ring in every home in the land between now and April the 9th. Beware of Mr Ashdown, a nice man, but he's the doorkeeper to a Labour Britain. I warn you, don't look at the man, look through the door. The most famous door in the world is number 10 Downing Street. Don't let Mr Ashdown open that door for Mr Kinnock. This party took Britain into Europe. A crucial decision, a vital decision, a decision I'm convinced was right for our medium and long-term future. But that is where our economic future lies. I have said often enough that I want our country to be at the very heart of Europe, and I mean it. Let me tell you something of the sort of Europe I want to create. A wider Europe, a bigger Europe, a better Europe. A Europe that will provide the greatest benefit that ever we have seen. But even though we have that wider vision that will produce a more peaceful continent than we've known in the past, that vision does not mean that within the European community we have to be uncritical about how the European community now works. When you're dealing with Europe, and I speak with some experience in this matter, when you're dealing with the community, you need to pitch in there fighting for Britain as well as for Europe. And let me promise you this tonight, with a Conservative government, Bristol will always come before Brussels in our negotiations with Europe. That's what Douglas Hurd and I did at Maastricht. And thank goodness I had Douglas with me and not Gerald Kaufman. They were tough, not that I think he would have come, even if we could have found him. They were tough negotiations in Europe, but we did get the right result for Britain. Just imagine what would have happened if a Labour government had been in power and had gone there. They wouldn't have spoken for Britain. They would have produced an agreement that would have broken Britain. There are just 3 words in Labour's vocabulary for Europe: we, si, and jawohl. Well, let me offer you a fourth, absolutely vital word to defend Britain's interest. No. This election that stands just a few days away from us is a critical, vital election for this country. Because what is at stake in this election is the future of Britain, and from such a contest, no one should stand aside. So I urge you, every single one of you, to go out and talk to anyone who may still be uncertain about our future. Remind them what we Conservatives stand for. Remind them what we have done and what we believe in. Remind them we want a country of real opportunity, a country with a head and a country with a heart, wealth and welfare hand in hand, and open their eyes to the threat that our opponents present to their daily lives. Tell them to vote for the team that has experience. Vote for the team that will help recovery, not kill it. Support the team that will unite the country and not divide it. Vote for the team that will keep your family safe and not sorry. And vote for the team you can trust. Go out and tell them all those things, and then tell them to join us on April the 9th to vote for a Conservative future, which we will begin to construct on April the 10th.
John Major, who not only accused the Liberal Democrats of being a Trojan horse for Labour, but also said that the opposition party's devolution plans threaten to break up Britain. Now, the Liberal Democrats have no qualms about dismantling the British Constitution, which they regard as antiquated and corrupt. Neither are they afraid to rebut charges that they're merely the stooges of the left. The Liberal Democrats' election broadcast tonight flashed the names of some 250 seats in which they are the challengers. While the opinion polls are all over the place as far as the big two parties are concerned, the one thing they all agree on is that the Liberal Democrats are on the way up. And tonight, Paddy Ashdown called on Britain's floating voters to vote for real change.
Let me say this to the millions of people who are now turning with enthusiasm to the Liberal Democrats, because it's very important that this is said. Your vote is not a protest vote. A vote for the Liberal Democrats is a principled, positive vote, which is why we are gaining ground as each day goes by. Your vote is not a backdoor vote for Labour or for the Tories. A vote for the Liberal Democrats is a winning vote for a Liberal Democrat Member of Parliament. And above all, your vote will never, ever be a wasted vote. A vote for the Liberal Democrats is now the most powerful vote you can cast, because it is the only party with a positive program to change Britain for the future. You know, all around Britain this evening, individual voters and their families are deciding how they will use their votes in this general election. As polling day gets closer, more and more people will be making up their minds in the privacy of their homes. I believe they will want to invest their vote in a party which can really make a difference. They want to use their vote for real change. They want a vote that will bring hope where there is despair, a vote that will bring optimism where there is only disillusionment. I say this to the millions of people who have yet to make up their mind. Vote for what the parties stand for. Have confidence in what you want. Judge us, each of us, not by the character of our insult, but on our plans for the future. And if you do, then you really will change our country for good. What the Liberal Democrats now offer is not whinges, not negative campaigning, but hope. Hope for those who are out of work. Hope for those who are sick. Hope for those who missed opportunity at school. hope for our precious environment, hope for a country which for these last 40 years seems to have lost its way under both Labour and the Tories. Ours is a vision for the future. It is a vision of a country that has won back its self-confidence, rediscovered its will to succeed. A vision of a nation which is truly at ease with itself and in tune with its times. A vision of a community which cares for the future and for its own people. That is our vision. Let the other two parties now call the nation to attend to their vision. That's what the people of this country want to hear. What do we call our vision? We call it a citizen's Britain. A Britain where the government serves its people and each of our citizens knows their power. A Britain whose politicians work with the people, not to divide them. A Britain with a new style, a style of openness and cooperation. A Britain which celebrates achievement, encourages success. A Britain with the power to change and the confidence to treasure what we hold in common, not just what we own in private. A Britain which shares in international responsibility, never turns its back on our fellow Europeans or the wider world. That is our Britain, our citizens' Britain. This morning, Mr. Major told people that there is no soft option. But there is. If you want the soft option, vote Tory or Labour. They'll provide it just as they have for these last 40 failed years. You know, every so often in our history, there is another option. There comes a moment when it is right to stand up and be counted. And this is one. This is an election which could shape our country right into the next century and for decades to come. This is an election which could at last put things right in Britain in time for the 21st century. This is an election which marks a moment of decision for our country. We must now decide whether we are content for our country to be governed in the same old way, with the same old weaknesses, the same old injustice, unfairness. Or we can decide that we want our democracy to be modern, open, genuinely representative of those whom it is supposed to serve. This is the moment when our country can rise to a new future with new hope and new confidence. This is the moment when, together, we can rise up and we can win. That's the message of this election. Thank you all.
Paddy Ashdown's vision. Now, in Scotland, of course, there's not one third party, but two. The Scottish National Party are also on the march north of the border, where the opinion polls suggest they're well up on the support they won in the 1987 general election. Their deputy leader, Jim Sillars, told a very sober and untheatrical meeting of nationalists in East Kilbride tonight that there were two elections going on in Britain, the overblown slagging match in the south and the confrontation in Scotland between the SNP on the one side and the Unionists on the other. He was in no doubt who was going to win.
There is a terrible price for us in being handcuffed, what is essentially a Tory country south of the border. Now, I know somebody might say, but oh, look, all those opinion polls are showing that the Tories are in a bad way south of the border. They're in a state of collapse south of the border. It looks as if this time, at last, England isn't going to vote Tory. I think that's probably the case at the moment. You just need to watch Chris Patten's face on television, you know, that set feature, the face of a loser, if ever you saw one. I don't think anybody's told John Major that written in the bottom of his soapbox is loser. Nobody will tell him until the day after polling day. But I think the Tories are on a loser south of the border. But that doesn't mean that England has become a left-wing country. it doesn't mean that England's politics have aligned themselves with left-wing Scotland. It remains pretty much a Tory philosophy country. And we have had visits here from 3 senior figures of the English Tory party who have really revealed what they think of us. We had Douglas Hurt, the Foreign Secretary. Now let me explain. I've got a great deal of time for Douglas Hurt. Although he's a political opponent of mine, I recognise a man of very considerable intellect. No question about that at all. And I always regret to see a man of that stature come up north of the border and then demean himself by arguments that someone of his intelligence should never, ever use. He came up here about 10, 14 days ago, and he made a speech saying that Scottish independence would be tantamount to industrial vandalism. That from a government that gave us Gartcosh, Linwood, Bathgate, Corpach, the Invergordon smelter, Caterpillar, Lee Jeans, and 300,000 people unemployed, and is going to destroy the Scottish steel industry. Douglas, you've got a brass neck coming up here telling us about industrial vandalism, because we've suffered it at your hands for a long, long time. Then we had that grey chap, John Major, who is exactly what you see melting into the background. John Major came up and said that he was passionately concerned to keep the Union together, that he had no party interest whatsoever, purely altruistic. He would just like us all to stay as one big happy family. No. He was up here as the Prime Minister of an English state. And I'll tell you why they want to keep a hold of Scotland. Because we've to tolerate Trident and the Clyde that under no circumstances would they accept on the River Thames. We're to sacrifice our steel industry to have its capacity replaced by Teesside. We're to be the nuclear dump for various folk. And although they've taken one oil boom wealth away, they've got their eyes on the other oil boom wealth in the 1990s as well. Nothing altruistic about John Major's desire to hold on to Scotland. We are a valuable asset that can be stripped and milked through the next decade. That's why he wants to keep us. Then there's the woman that we defeated on the poll tax, Margaret Thatcher. She came up and she said they, meaning you and me, they will back down. They will hesitate. She was saying in a very polite way that we don't have the bottle to go for independence. Put us on the spot and we will run away. The sort of marshmallow people of Western Europe. All puffed up one minute, squeeze them, there's nothing there, and they'll run away the next minute. That's the contemptuous view that the English Tory establishment have for you, the people of Scotland. We can get rid of them. Now, they'll be perfectly entitled under the rules of the European community to free travel to Scotland. We won't be able to do anything about it. But the big difference between independence and devolution or the Union status quo is that Thatcher, Major and Hurt will never be able to come here again and lecture us in that contemptible fashion. All they can do is come here as a visitor. We're quite happy to take their money, let them sleep in our hotels, go to Ben Nevis, see if they can find the Loch Ness Monster, then go back home the same as everybody else.
Jim Sillars, who says he fully expects to become Scotland's first Foreign Secretary for 300 years. Now, this election has had its ups and downs and some pretty unedifying moments too, but no one can any longer say this campaign is boring. All general elections are crucial in one way or another, but this one is turning into a truly historic 3- and 4-way contest, which for once justifies a hyperbole. Tomorrow, the Liberal Democrats aim to consolidate their success by concentrating on electoral reform, as the cross-party Charter 88 hold their Democracy Day. Labour and Conservatives will be back in the trenches of education and the economy. We'll be back on the hustings tomorrow night. From Westminster, goodbye.
There's another election call tomorrow morning when you can put your questions to the Shadow Chancellor John Smith. 071 799 5000 is the number. The lines are open after 8 a.m. and Jonathan Dimbleby presents Election Call at 9:05 on BBC One and Radio 4 tomorrow morning.
Set sail for an evening of comedy this Thursday on BBC One. Compose Capers drive Nora batty at 8 o'clock. Then at 8:30 there's a warm welcome for a smooth stranger in Us Girls.
Hi!
It's snack time at Slade at 10 o'clock.
Here, Evans, have you eaten my shoe polish?
And at 10:30, waxing lyrical Dudley Moore style.
Words fail me.
Words shouldn't matter, just mime.
Words shouldn't matter?
Mime your
A lot
way
of mime.
through this
Okay, a lot
interview.
of mime.
Join the comedy crew Thursday night here on BBC One.
The weather now, and we begin with a warning of overnight heavy rain, which will continue to affect northeastern England with sleet and snow over the high ground and the threat of some localised flooding. In the far north of Scotland, there'll be some wintry showers and a frost in the more sheltered glens. Over southern England, showery rain will slowly edge eastwards. Tomorrow, the main rain band, with sleet and snow over high ground, will move southwards only slowly. To the north of the rain, some wintry showers, and to the south of it, more cloud than today, along with some showery outbreaks of rain.
At a general election, if you're entitled to vote, you'll be sent an official poll card,
Polling cards, Dad?
which tells you where your polling station is. The station is open from 7 in the morning to 10 in the evening, but go early in the day if you can to avoid the queues. You don't need to take your poll card with you, but it may save you time when you get there.
Good morning.
First of all, you'll be given your ballot paper.
Thank you.
Look for the name of the candidate you want to vote for, and then put a cross opposite the name and write nothing else. Fold the paper and put it in the box. And if anyone asks you who you voted for, you don't have to tell them.
Never you mind.
Your vote is your business.
That was a public information film. And the time now coming up to 27 minutes to 1. And as we close BBC One, don't forget the music of BBC Radio tonight. Bob Harris is in session with Radio 1's rock music, while the Jazz Parade on Radio 2 is featuring the concluding part of Chick Corea's electric band concert, recorded recently at the Royal Festival Hall in London. For now, from me, Andy Cartledge, on behalf of all here on BBC One, wherever you are, a very good night.